what was your strategy for getting into real estate with no credit, no cash?
Oh man, I love it. What I did was I started reaching out to homeowners, right, and doing what I was taught. One way you could buy a house is, hey, offering seller finance, offer to make payments over time, right? And of course, I'm not the one making the payments; the tenants are making the payments, right? That was one. Taking over mortgage payments, and that's how I started to build my portfolio, bro. Yeah. And it started at first a little $300, like what's $300? So I'm gonna do it $400 a month, right? Then $800, right? Do it 5 times, right? 8 times 5, do your math.
Yes.
And that's what happened.
Yo, you're listening to the Money Monopolizers podcast, helping you take control of your financial destiny. It's about time that we invest more in our financial literacy and work towards building generational wealth. If you think you're ready to do the same, then you've come to the right place. Alex, Marlon, y'all ready? Let's get this bread.
What's good, everybody? It's Alex Kamunya here, and we are back with episode 115 of the Money Monopolizers podcast, and I'm here with my co-host, Marlon Walls. Marlon, how you doing today, bro?
Doing good, man. I really ain't got even much that I want to get into, but I'm just excited to be out here again to do more episodes, man. Because looking at everything, we're in December now. Like, this is first. How many episodes have we recorded in December? Like 1. But anyways, though, like it's the whole year is just unfolding very well overall. So I'm excited for like the space I'm in right now, as far as like mentally, just like business wise and everything. So I'm doing really well overall, though, man. Grateful to be alive, so I'm just like in a grateful mood overall. How about you?
I'm happy to be out here again in Houston, Texas, in a new location, as y'all can see on YouTube. It's a very dope spot that we in. It's a unique kind of location. So we got a whole bunch of locations that we can record at, kind of building that network of people that we can use their space to record at. So it's super dope. Shout out to the spot we at today. It's we're out in Northwest Houston, so I'm excited to kind of get into the episode that we have today, but other than that, I'm doing really well. So
yes, sir.
What we can do kind of is get straight into our business updates and go from there.
It's time. I guess I got my swagger back. Keep them posted.
So obviously now with it being mid-December when this does release, the year is pretty much coming to an end here soon. So how have things been for you over the last couple weeks since we last recorded, just in regards to your business?
Yep. So like I said before, we're getting really big into like the acquiring new vehicles, like through joint ventures and partnerships. And one thing that I really like, networking a lot with our account manager for like Turo right now. I see that as like a ultimate resource. Reason being is because he has the pulse of the market as it changes throughout the different months. So why not leverage that person, because they can see what cars are best currently, and he introduced us to a whole new tool. It's like to show the analytics of different vehicles that are performing. It's like one of their newest features to their platform that they just came out with recently. So that's one thing that's going to be able to set us apart. It's just like knowing the right vehicles to go after, which ones get the best return on investment, and then the good thing about that is that we can use these vehicles, share those with our joint venture partners. They can know what vehicles to get. That way they can get the best return on their investment, and we can continue to build our business that way. So I really done a lot of research into like the best vehicles now to be getting. Yeah. And it's kind of ironic that it's not even like the supercars that everybody would think to go after. So I'm kind of in that niche space now where I'm really about to we're going to start really locking in with all of our partnership opportunities, because we've had like 7 people that have reached out now. So yeah, the list is really starting to get up there. So we want to make sure that we have the best options for them to come on with, like as far as onboarding. So 2022 is going to be looking very promising as far as that aspect.
Dope. Glad to hear that, man.
How about you?
No, I think this month has been good so far. Generally, as far, in regards to the business, I think it's going to be, every month this year has been better than the last, and I think this month will be no different. We should close over 55,000 this month for revenue. So I'm excited to kind of see what we end up doing, but that's kind of where I'm projecting things to be at for this month. So, But man, next year is going to be crazy once, we kind of get into Houston and, the next location and all those things, that everything's going up all the way. So I'm excited for kind of where we're at with that. And obviously, training my staff and that kind of stuff, getting them all familiarized with our standard operating procedures and everything that we implemented as far as, getting things done the right way. Because I think one thing I kind of realized is, there has to be a balance between kind of letting people mess up and then also, trying to get things done your way.
Mm-hmm.
So just kind of trying to let people make those mistakes and then trying to kind of coach them up, teaching them how it should be done based on our SOPs. Because one thing that, I always say is that the good thing about having SOPs in your business is that you can make ordinary people look extraordinary when you have SOPs. And that is definitely what I've been able to kind of see over the last few weeks, because I didn't necessarily look when I hired my customer service representatives and stuff. I didn't necessarily look to see that they had already previous skills or experience in customer service. Obviously, they have to be able to be good with people, but as far as like how the actual business runs and how things are done, you should already have a proprietary system for that kind of stuff, how you want it done, and then you can kind of train them based off of that. So seeing all that I'm trying to get more and more out of the day-to-day as much as I can, so so I can focus on the higher level activities of the business, which is like scaling it, growth, those kinds of things. So I'm excited for that, man. So got a lot of good things cooking for 2022. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Yes, sir. No, I think that's the most essential part that you don't want to skip out on, is learning to let go of certain aspects of the business, like especially the day-to-day. Like somebody's going to have to be able to do this stuff with or without your presence. And in order to do that, you got to start relinquishing that control factor just a tad bit and understand that it's a process in place for a reason. Like you built this SOP so that you don't have to always be doing everything. Exactly. So you have to just let the systems that you built work themselves at this point. Yeah.
And so I know a lot of people, you might not be there in your business as far as, hiring people and that kind of stuff, but just understand, start building your SOPs already from day one. Like we continue to preach this. Even if you haven't even got your first client yet, start building your SOPs and then modify your standard operating procedures, how things are done, modify them as you go along, as the business continues to progress. And then, you can kind of build them based off of that. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on that as far as what's going on. But other than that, it's been a great year so far, and I'm excited to kind of end the year with our next couple episodes. We have a couple great episodes lined up for y'all to end out this year or this month specifically, and we got another hot one today for y'all. It's been a minute since we actually did have a guest on the show. I think this has actually been probably one of the longer stretches we did go without having a guest, just because we really wanted to kind of focus on some kind of things that we wanted to get out over the last few weeks. So, but now like we do every time we do have a guest, we find the best people in the best industries and the best places for y'all to come and bring value to y'all. Because like we say all the time, just because we have experience in real estate and doing all these other things, there's still people out here that are doing them at a higher level, and we want to bring you so much value. So we can talk about it as much as we want, but at the end of the day, you can gain so much more value when you listen to people that are actually doing it. So this week we have a heavy hitter on the show. Again, we out here in Houston, Texas, and the thing about Houston is that Houston has so many real estate investors that are killing it. Like every time we need to get a real estate investor on the show, we just look into our Houston network, and it's pretty easy to find one. So it's I'm excited to kind of talk to our guest today. We have Brian Iregbu on the. Did I say your name right, bro?
Came close.
How is it? How does it actually?
For American folks?
Yeah.
Iregbu.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what is it? African?
Iregbu.
I was pretty close.
No.
I said Iregbu.
We'll work with it.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
How you doing today, bro?
Man, I'm blessed, Thank you.
Yes, sir. Usually how we do get into these shows, we really want to get into our guest background as far as like kind of what you how you kind of saw money growing up, what you were kind of seeing in the household,
Wow.
when you was 18. I mean, African parents. I'm curious to know how that kind of
Wow.
was. With,
I've never been asked that, man.
well, I mean, I'm African myself, so
Okay.
I kind of have a I can relate to the experience. So I want to just kind of know how things were with money for you, particularly growing up, and
Right.
how that kind of transitioned to where you are today. Can you kind of get into that?
Absolutely, man. So, how I grew up was a little different because I grew up in a divorced household, right? And so I had two sets of parents. I had my Nigerian household in Baltimore, Maryland, which is still there, and I had my American household, right, which is my mother and my stepdad, which they're just American. So,
Wait, are both your biological parents Nigerian or?
no,
mom is
my
American?
father's Nigerian and my
Oh.
mother is American.
Gotcha.
Oh,
And so
okay.
growing up, all I knew from 3-4 years old is they were always separated. So when I'm with my father, I'm in a Nigerian household, right?
Yeah.
Speaking Nigerian, every brothers and sisters. It's just Nigerian food. I'm eating, fufu. I'm eating all cousins, uncles.
Yeah.
Nigerian parties to 3-4 in the morning. And when I'm in America, it's my mom and it's all American. So two households. My parents' household, Nigerian, he never really spoke about money that much. He's a hard worker, but he never really spoke about money. But I know he didn't waste money. So if I asked about, hey, Dad, I want the Jordan, he said, you got Jordan money? He said, come on, why do you want to buy Jordan? It's the same shoe. It's the same shoe.
He's like, get the Shaqs.
Yeah,
Get
so
the starters.
the Shaq, he said, that's good shoe. So or if I go buy something, I remember by the time I got to college, I went to Morgan State.
Okay.
And so I kind of had my own money. I had my own job.
Yeah.
And I would buy, I would go to the mall and he would say, that's what you spend your money on? You know what I mean? But
I already know.
so that's how you choose to spend. That's how you spend your money. So that's the Nigerian household. But in the American household growing up, my mother was get it. Doesn't even matter if you got the money for it, right? Buy it. If you want the best, spend it. Credit, whatever,
Yeah.
right? Basically, buy what you want.
If you want to get it.
If you want to get it, no matter if it makes sense financially or not.
Right.
So some conflict in views there. Never really spoke too much about, and my mom, so that was the difference in the two households.
So whenever you were, so from the time you were 3, you were like splitting between that two households until you went to college?
Yeah, I grew up, man. I literally, first grade, second grade, I was in Baltimore, Maryland, and Woodmore Elementary.
Yeah.
5th grade, 6th grade, I was here, and it was Orange, Texas. And then 7th grade, I was back. I went to school in Maryland.
Oh, so every year you were really.
Yeah, it was because I grew up. It was interesting,
Yeah.
Loving parents, great parents. I never had any issues like that. But what would happen is I would be going to school one place, and I would visit the other parent for the summertime.
Oh,
But
okay.
the school year roll around, and I'm like, you know what?
Stay here.
I want to stay here. And they allowed me to do that
Sometime,
growing up until I got to 8th grade, and they said, hey, you need to pick one where you want to be.
They made that.
You want to
they
be
gave you that
Baltimore?
decision.
Huh?
They gave you that decision.
They made me make an ultimatum when it got to high school because it was like, you don't want to do that in high school. Where do you want to be?
Right.
And of course, like most guys or most people, I want to go with my mama.
Yeah.
Because my mom is not going to say, hey, get the Shaqs.
Yeah.
Right.
So 8th grade through graduation, I was in here in Texas. Then first year of college, my whole first year of college at Morgan State, Baltimore. So
That's very interesting because
Yeah.
I know, just like, obviously, man, it's crazy that you were able to, because the thing is I'm all over, but the thing is for a lot of like people that have an immigrant background, usually it's like both parents are usually immigrants. You don't typically see when an immigrant marries like a American person.
That was interesting.
That's actually very kind of interesting because I don't see that often. So kind of having that dynamic of like a mom and a dad that are from two different backgrounds is kind of interesting because I'm a firm believer in the fact that, like, I mean, values and stuff had to be really similar.
Up,
yeah, whenever you're getting married.
That's probably why my dad is married to a Nigerian now.
I was going to ask that too, because you said it's a Nigerian household with your dad, so
Yeah.
like he married
Now-
a Nigerian woman.
No, absolutely.
It's like, I'm staying to my roots. I can't do that
Absolutely.
again.
And I'm sure. I'm not sure, but like I had imagined like a big reason for obviously things not working out was there was a lot of differences in terms of finances and things like that.
Possibly.
Based off of. I mean, you're saying he's
Oh, it's
scolding.
totally different.
Yeah, he's scolding you for buying shoes, and meanwhile your mom is telling you buy what you want.
Growing up with my mom, lay away all of that. You know, she gonna
Yeah.
get it all. You know what I mean?
Right. So that's really interesting. So how did that mentality, like having, because I think you kind of got a balance. If there's any sort of balance, that is like an ultimate balance where it's like, this is keeping me kind of here, and then this at the same time, this is keeping me here on this side. So how did those two kind of conflicting
And how I was shaped and what happened with me.
Yeah.
How does that reflect on you?
Great question. So, of course, naturally, coming up as a kid, you're gonna gravitate to what you want, right? And what I wanted is what I wanted, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the only person that was aligning with those views was my mom, right? However, when you get into the real world, you notice that it's not all about what you want. You have to do what you got to do before you could do what you want to do. And so moving like that could have you in trouble really quick. So I'm glad you asked that. So what happened is what I did, I modeled after what made me feel good and what's my mom, how she done things. Yeah. And, I bought things I couldn't afford, did things like that. And I quickly saw that I was like, this ain't gonna work. Like, this is not gonna work for a few different reasons. And that's when I started to search and find out about financial literacy, how people are actually living a good life, how people are actually getting financially freedom and things like that. And what I noticed is that's not the way. And then I don't know if you guys want to transition that yet. I started to get introduced to the Robert Kiyosaki's, the different philosophies, and it was like, whoa, I get it. Let me do it like this, because I can have both. I can be financially disciplined and wise and prudent with my money like my father, but I also can have anything I want.
Yeah.
Rolexes, Rolls Royces, but if you do it right.
Right.
And so that's what was happening. I followed my mom's footsteps, and it really wasn't turning out great. And then I had to adopt another philosophy around like money.
Yeah.
No, I love this just how the story unfolds, because you have both perspectives growing up. You can always pull from anyone at any time. It's all about like when it's relevant to you, though.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's not like you don't understand the value of not spending your money on whatever until the fact that you start seeing that this one way is not producing the results I want at this time. So you say you did college in Baltimore, though, at Morgan State, right?
Yep.
So you're in the environment that's more closer to your dad at this point. Mm-hmm. Does that have any impact on like, especially like as you start transitioning to this different mentality of I need to be more smarter with my money?
But when did that happen?
Because I was at that point, like I said, I was in that household, but I know that I couldn't get what I want so I got my own job. I think I was working at Walmart or something. I started having my own job, so I would spend money.
So you hadn't found the financial freedom kind of thing?
No. I'm in college,
Yeah.
So what I had to do, since I didn't have my mom buying me stuff, with my dad, is like, you're gonna buy it your own. So so that's that's what I did. So the shift as far as what I decided to implement and the philosophy I started to wanted to adopt, that didn't come till I, had a wife. Mm-hmm. I had real responsibilities, and I was like, I don't like neither one of their philosophies.
Right.
Because I don't want to sacrifice and never get what I want. Like, what's the point of living?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I also don't want to buy everything that I can't afford and put myself in bad positions.
Right.
And so that's when I started finding Rich Dad Poor Dad, how, in the Kiyosaki philosophy was like, yo, you could do it both.
So what was your motivation to actually look into it? Was it the fact that seeing I don't like that, I don't like that either? Like, what was that catalyst?
What was that catalyst? Bro, the catalyst was I had a job, so I went to college, right? Mm-hmm. And I was always taught by both of them. They did both believe in this central philosophy is like, if you go to college, you're going to be better financially, mm-hmm. right? So after I got out of college and I got a job, I found out, well, I'm okay, but is this what you guys meant by better financially? I can't buy that. I can't afford that. I can't afford that. Like all the stuff I want is
Like the
on
nice
other
car.
shelf. It's on another shelf.
Yeah.
And so that trigger was when I was working a job and I was like, and looking around at my colleagues, some my age, some 20, 30 years older. And I'm like, God, so we're in the same place. So I'm going to end up like them. Nothing's wrong with them, but I was like, just the conversations I would hear really just kind of hit me in the gut. I would hear two older gentlemen talking the same place. They're both 50, 60 years old. Like, hey, so, Bill, when you retiring? I'm like, well, John, I think I'm going to get 5 more years, I think I'm going to have enough retirement. I think I'm going to get 5 more years. And I'm looking, and I'm like 24. I'm like, yo, he's 60. I'm like, dang. And because you naturally are going to think in your head, like, dang, that's what it's going to be like.
Yeah.
And so I immediately got discomfort and almost like a feeling of depression. I'm like, yo, I got to get out. It got to be faster than that.
Yeah. That, oh my God, that's so, I relate to
Then I
that.
went to Google.
Bro, I relate to that so much because it's like, the thing about it is, I think it's such a blessing to be young and kind of come into the real world and have a revelation because you haven't been poisoned yet. And like graduating from college, going like, 'cause I know for me personally, like I graduated from college and we were kind of talking about this earlier, but it was like, yo, you graduate, you start working, you making by societal standards good money, like, working as an engineer, whatever, making good money, quote unquote. But it's like you looking around and it's like, bro, you 60 years old, you 40, you closer to age than me, you 35, but I mean, you still been here for 12 years and like, you got 20, 30 more years left. So it's kind of like, it just doesn't feel right. Yeah. And I think for the people that actually like say that and they question, well, what is the alternative? Like, what is the other way that I can do this? Like, what is another way? How can I have what I want, but at the same time still be this? Like the people that question that and ask why, and
that's the right question.
Those are the people that ultimately end up getting financial freedom because and living the different lifestyle because you ask why. At the end of the day, I think a lot of people just don't ask why enough. Like, why is this the way to do it? Like, why are y'all okay with having this conversation about retiring at 60 years old?
So, and let me clear something out because I want to be careful, how I say that because I don't want to shun or bash because I always want to influence and impact. And I would hate for somebody, I don't know who your viewers or listeners are, I would hate to be for a 55 or a 60 year old worker or something to be looking and not be empowered by this conversation, right. But feel like a failure.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Here's the issue. It's not about how it's. The issue is what you're doing aligned with what you ultimately want? Yeah, and if it's not, is there a better way to do it? So there's nothing wrong about being 60, 65, having retired. That's okay. But if you planned or you wanted to be in a different position earlier, it's kind of like the plan that you're on, right? Is it working? Jim Rohn is one of my favorite.
Oh yeah, sure.
I call him, my mentor, man. I would have done anything to meet that guy when he was still living, man, because his works and his things, they impacted me, right, long after he was gone. But he said one thing that was so powerful. He said, we're all buying someone's plan. The question is whose. Man. Because even what you guys doing, it was someone's blueprint. You was sold. Even if it was your partner that sold you on doing this.
Somebody did.
Right? So the guy that's teaching, the guy that's, picking up trash and, he doesn't like it. But there's guys that pick up trash and they love it, right? Yeah. There's nothing wrong with it. But we're all buying someone's plan. The question is who. So just kind of going and reflecting is like, are your goals in line with what you're currently doing?
Yeah.
I think that statement is so big, man, because everybody's plan has a destination at the end of it. And if you don't know what your destination that you're trying to get to is, if you follow somebody's plan and it's the wrong plan to get to your destination, you're going to end up at a destination that you didn't even want to be at. So you have to really know what is your goal in life, and then figure out whose plan can get me to that goal the best way possible. So you say you found like Robert Kiyosaki, you found like Rich Dad Poor Dad and all that. How did where did you see your plan unfolding from there? Like how did that start to shape where you how did you know that was in line with your plan, and then what was your next step of action from there?
Right. So the biggest aha moment I had from Rich Dad Poor Dad that drastically deferred from my father's philosophy, right, in the Nigerian household, was build businesses, buy assets, and let that pay for your lifestyle.
Right.
I grew up in the household where it was like, get more degrees, and the more degrees you get, master's degrees, PhDs, 2 PhDs, right, you'll be better off, right? And then when I seen this Kiyosaki thing, and also I'm looking at, like, shoot, student loans, I'm like, I wait more. I'm just keeping it real. I was like, yo, like, all right. And then I remember when I was a school teacher, and I noticed when I get my master's degree that my salary would bump up like $1,500 per year. So I would go from like $48,000 a year to like $49,550. $49,500. I was like, yo. And so the Kiyosaki, what it did for me, I was like, well, all right, it looks like I can build businesses or buy assets and accomplish the same thing and also have more freedom and also do it a lot faster. And so my plan was real estate eventually. I was like, oh, this is one of the vehicles. And the reason why real estate is because when I started to look and search and Google, I was like, man, there's too many examples that look just like me that have proof and documentation. Like, this is real. Let me try this.
Right.
And that's where I started.
So a couple questions real quick, and then we'll kind of go through something from there. So as far as like, when you started, what were you doing at that? You say you were a teacher?
I was a school teacher.
When you graduated college?
So I graduated college. My very first professional job was a school teacher.
Okay.
I was a school teacher for 4 years, and then I started working in the refineries. This is like the shift work, right?
Got you.
It was a Valero. After Valero was Exxon, but all that oil and gas was kind of like the same industry. So while I was in that oil and gas industry was when I was looking at the coworkers and was like, because I was making more than a school teacher this time. This time I think
and
I
how
got
old were
into
you?
I was like 25.
25?
4, 5.
Yeah. And how much were you making? Like, what was your salary like at that time?
At that time, the time when I bought my first property and I got introduced to Robert Kiyosaki, all that, my salary was around like $62,000.
$62,000.
Yeah.
Cool. So what I want to ask you now is, can you kind of tell us what does your like real estate portfolio kind of look like today? And then we're going to kind of go back and then break it down from there. But just for the people. Can you
So, I mean, I have a few million in real estate.
Yeah.
And the majority, so it's half and half. Half of it is standard rentals.
Okay.
Okay. And the other half are notes, seller finance notes.
Okay.
Right, seller finance the property out to each other people, and then of course that's the portfolio side of it. And and that's what's interesting about my story. I started off buying like creative finance first because I wanted the freedom to build cash flow. I didn't start wholesaling till afterwards.
Gotcha.
So after I built the portfolio, it allowed me to leave my job. At this time, I was at ExxonMobil making about $128,000 a year.
And how many units did it take for you to leave your job?
It took me about 13
units to replace your job income
to replace my job
of
income.
128,000, or just to like cover your living expenses?
Yeah, cover my living expenses. I was at
That's the
probably
main goal,
like
right?
6,000. Yeah, probably around like $5,000, $6,000 a month or whatever.
Okay. So how many units do you have now in total?
25.
25 units, and then you're wholesaling and that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah, we have 16 employees.
Oh, nice.
We're there in Pearland.
Oh, nice.
Really? Yeah, we're in Pearland. Got an office in Pearland.
Really? We grew up there.
Yeah. Stop by sometime.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of our employees are virtual. Matter of fact, 10 of our cold callers are overseas. And then, the other team members.
And how many like properties are y'all like getting under contract a month, wholesaling a month, as far as like,
Average getting under contract about 15.
15.
Yeah, what about 60% close ratio?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Averaging 6 figures a month. I mean, we've been partners a little over 3 years now.
You and Byron. Yeah.
We had I think our first 6-figure month was a little late to that party, but was February 20
of last year.
Yeah, February 20 was our first 6-figure month. July of this year was our first 6-figure week.
Really?
Nice. Yeah, and the good thing about that one was actually documented and receipted. So if you go to YouTube, it's one of my last 4 YouTube videos. I actually showed, the screenshots of every single transaction and kind of gave some tips on how we did a 6-figure week.
Man, shout out to, so we had, I know we talked about it before, but we had Byron on episode 105, and he told us kind of about y'all systems and what y'all got going on as far as how y'all systematize that business. So
Man.
so much
Good guy, man. It's
Yeah.
crazy because, I was like, man, assets that pay for your lifestyle was introduced from Robert Kiyosaki. Byron introduced me to the importance of systems and tracking.
Yeah.
I was kind of gunslinging, right? I had all these properties, right? But all I was focused on, as long as I got more money than I had last month,
Right.
I'm good.
Yeah, he calls it a hustlepreneur.
That's what he calls it.
Yeah. So the reason I wanted to ask is because I wanted to kind of show people where you are, and then we can kind of I want to kind of break that whole journey down. So you obviously started with a long-term buy and hold properties at that, whenever you were 25 years old and you saw
creative finance at that, because I didn't have the credit or the cash.
So perfect
talk about
segue.
that.
So a lot of people right now, they're in similar situations. Like, cool, I want to get into real estate, but I'm in my young 20s, I'm broke, I don't have any money. So obviously the one thing about real estate is that, like, the thing about real estate, if you find a good deal, like, the money is it's not gonna find you. And so can you kind of talk about what was your strategy? By the way, what year was this? Because I think that's important to know, as far as, like, what was your strategy for getting into real estate with no credit, no cash?
Oh, man, I love it. So February, so I told at the time, guys, look, you can't be more transparent than this.
I love it.
At the time, I had $4,000 in, like, a little, you ever seen those little books? It looks like a little decor, look like a book, but it's really like a little.
Oh, and it has a hollow.
It's hollow inside,
yeah.
Right? So I had that. It used to be on a dress.
That was the bank.
Huh? That was my cash stash,
Yeah.
right? And so I was living with my now wife for 8 years.
Yeah.
I was living with her because I had my own apartment and it was kind of expensive.
Yeah.
As a school teacher at that time, right? And so I had $4,000 cash, and I had probably like a 540 credit score, bro.
Wow.
Yeah.
And this is when you were 25.
Yeah.
Okay.
Around 2. Yeah. So look, bad decisions late in life, right? So I told her, and this is what I've been doing at work, is searching for, and I told her, because I'm having all this, going through all this in my head, and I told her, look, man, I want to try to do blank, right? And she was like, how much is it going to cost, right? And I knew I had to get them in, so I was like, man, I think it's like $3,800.
So you got 4,000. So
Now, $4K. So, I mean, what we did, and that was right after we got married. We went to our honeymoon in the Bahamas.
Yeah.
I came back. I was back for like 2 weeks. I invested into, mentorship, and I got lucky, right? Because a lot of people say high price, like, I got lucky and it was the right person.
So
and
the 3,800 went to the mentorship.
To the mentorship.
Really?
So check it out. So I got the right teacher, right?
Right.
And I lucked up because people get scammed, and literally, God changed my life. Got the foundation, and what I did, I was going to work every day, regular job like everyone else, no money, right? No credit. I started to. So what I started to do is started to market for motivated sellers. At that time, I was using for sale by owners because I wasn't paying for marketing, and also I had like a little subscription to this website at the time. It wasn't Zillow. It was called ZBuyer. It's old school ZBuyer.
Wow.
It was a for sale by owner website. They're still around now, but they changed. It was PPC leads. Now it's now they do kind of like email marketing, so it's not really investor type leads.
Yeah.
So what I did was I started reaching out to homeowners, right, and doing what I was taught. One way you could buy a house is, hey, offering seller finance, offer to make payments over time, right? And of course, I'm not the one making the payments; the tenants are making the payments,
Right.
right? That was one, taking over mortgage payments, and that's how I started to build my portfolio, bro.
Yeah.
And it started at first a little $300. Like, what's $300? So I'm gonna do it $400 a month, right?
Right.
Then $800, right?
Pounds.
Do it 5 times, right? 8 times 5.
Hey.
Do your math.
Yes.
And that's what happened. Then I would do a little, maybe like a hotel, or it's creative, but it's kind of wholesale. One of the things I was taught 7-8 years ago, you could wholesale using the MLS. It's tricky. A lot of people don't know how to do it. Get a property under contract, go on the MLS, and now you have a bigger spread. instead of your cash buyers that beat you down on prices.
Oh yeah.
Make $20K, go and cash out a little property, and so those might cash flow like $800 a month.
Yeah.
And that's how I started, bro.
Man.
Yo, I got to just shout this out for a second because this is so that like the initial like what you did first was like the pivotal thing. So you said that you had $4,000.
Yeah, bro. That was tough.
Because most people are going to say are in the situation. I want to highlight this. We've actually got this question multiple times. They say I'm sitting on a amount of cash right now. I don't know what vehicle to go into. I see real estate as an option, and how should I like leverage this cash that I have in order to get into the business? Most people are thinking, is this a down payment? Is like how do I utilize this money to actually go into the business or into the property itself? You said you had to convince your wife too. Mm-hmm. That I'm not going to spend my money on a deal. I'm going to go get it or marketing. I'm going to invest it into learning about it. How does that thought process go?
Bro, I'm gonna be real as I could possibly be right now. When someone asks me that same question, you know, it's always hard to this day to answer that question. I'm not saying everybody should go and get a mentor. Mm-hmm. I know plenty. One of my good friends, Max, he never had a mentor. He didn't have for the real estate. Everybody doesn't need a mentor. There's people that go to YouTube and they can
figure it out, skyrocket.
So, you know, I want you to be careful. That's what I chose to do because there's different personalities. Some people need a little more hand-holding and guidance to feel comfortable enough to take action. Yeah. Some people need a little bit more clarity. I didn't want to do the trial and error because you're right. I could have invested that $4,000 a few different ways. That could have been a down payment. That could have been marketing, right? Yeah. But maybe I just got sold, you know. But I don't regret that because now, without spending any money, you could drop me off anywhere in the United States. Anywhere in the United States right now, I can make money in real estate. Yeah. Take every bit of cash, take every credit. I don't need it. Yeah. Because I know how to talk to people, and I know how to find problems, and I know how to create a win-win situation. And I've taught thousands of people how to do it.
You're talking heavy.
You know what I mean? You get by testimonials, receipts, documentation. You guys can see it. So, you know, I'm just happy that I actually found, you know, I went that way and I got a person that was legit.
And I'm so glad that you talked about that the way you did, because at the end of the day, the point of it is to be educated first and to invest into yourself first, right? Absolutely. And so if you have the $4,000 and it has $3,500, you cost $3,800 for a mentor. Mm-hmm. If you know you're not the type of person that can go self-educate and learn it, then spending that $3,800 is a good investment. I think either way, it can't be a bad investment.
One more thing, man.
Yeah.
You're going to pay regardless.
Ooh, talk about it.
Either you're going to pay a mentor or you're going to pay to the
School of Hard Knocks.
That's it.
You're going to pay it in losses, right? You're going to go and spend that money on marketing that's no longer effective right now, right? You're going to spend it on something and maybe you don't know how to track it properly, right? Or you're going to spend the money and when you get in front of the opportunity, you say the wrong things and they run off. You know, it's just so much. Matter of fact, it's crazy because you talk about the origin of what we learned about money and how did it translate. That initial experience of what I did with that initial investment back in 2014 and how it changed my life planted a seed that I can't shake today. I still invest in education.
Yeah.
Bro, every year I invest in more education. Because I have to stay abreast of what's going on because real estate changes quickly. Yeah. Right? And you'll be like Blockbuster if you don't know what changes. I mean, they got text message laws, RVM laws. You got to know, or you're making calls and not people picking up. So, right, your contact ratio is going down. So you have to understand what are the top of the top and the best of the best doing right now to get around those things. Yeah. Byron and I just went to Ohio to a little workshop. We paid $4,000 for, right? The company paid $4,000, right? Boom. Yeah. For us to go to that. So look, I'm still investing, even though I've helped, thousands, and we've done over 500 deals.
But that's the thing. You never stop. That's the thing about wealthy people. You never stop learning. Never. Like the moment you stop learning, it's over. That's the beginning of the end. Yep. Like once you think that, I'm good now, I know it all, I don't have to continue learning. You only got a few more years left.
income starts to decline.
Yeah, it will, because you, like you said, you're gonna be outdated. And people, the thing about this now is like, yo, it's 15-year-old kids that's getting the same information that 30, 40, 50-year-olds are getting.
15-year-old kids making $15 million.
Bro, and you think them kids aren't coming for you? Like, they gonna take all the market share. And there's more and more of them every day. The kids saying, I don't need to go to college. I learned how to, do this, or I learned how to wholesale real estate when I was 16. So it's kind of like, if you think that you know it all, you gonna have a rude awakening. So getting into that mentality of like self-education, continue to educate, and just treating education like real education, I'm not talking about like college, like real education.
Specialized knowledge.
Exactly. Like, that is what you want to be seeking. Like that, I think education gets a bad rap because of like school and college, because a lot of it is not applicable. But when you're seeking out applicable information, like you said, specialized knowledge, if you apply it, it's going to continue to make you more money. So,
it's all education. By me going and buying matter of fact, my primary residence is only 4 years old, brand new subdivision. Guess who credit was used to buy it? The previous sellers.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
You see, but and do you think that more people would buy? So it's, the debt is not on my credit. I didn't have to give anybody tax returns, W-2s, any of that, right? Yeah. Do you think that other people would buy houses like that too if they knew how to do it?
Of course.
I was going to ask you, right?
Guess what? Knowledge, right?
I hear a listener that's just begging to figure out how you did that. Like, I just know somebody.
No, for sure. So, and my last primary residence was subject to as well. Stayed in there 4 years. When I moved out and moved to Houston, I sold it seller finance to a barber.
Nice. Because we throwing terms out, I want to like make sure that people,
absolutely.
People under. So can you kind of talk about seller finance subject to all those?
Absolutely.
Give us the glossary.
Gotcha. So seller finance, typically when someone wants to buy a property, a house, right? The process is that I would go to a bank, I would get pre-approved, and they would tell me based on my credit worthiness, on my credit profile, if I'm approved, if I'm not, and if I am approved, how much am I approved for, okay? And once I'm approved, depending on if I'm gonna be living in that property or if it's an investment property, how much I have to put down. Mm-hmm. Typically, if you're going to live in a property and it's going to be owner occupied, you can get away with putting anywhere between 3.5% up to 10% if your credit is a certain amount. You use like 5% on a conventional loan, 3.5% FHA, and there is some 3.5% conventional products, but you get what I'm saying. It's usually 3.5 to 10%.
Yeah. Yep.
If you're not going to be living in the property and it's going to be an investment property, typically, right? There's times you can get under that, but typically about 20% down. Yeah. Right? You can wiggle in
from a conventional bank.
Conventional bank.
Yeah.
So that's how you buy real estate, right? You leverage your credit, you bring it to an institution, and they'll tell you, right? So seller finance is when you go directly to the owner of the property, not a bank, and you say, basically, they're the bank. Right? And don't get confused about this. I'm going to make it really simple. Instead of the bank giving you the loan to buy someone's property, they're willing to take the payments for the property over time. So if it's a $200,000 house, typically I would go to Wells Fargo, loan me $200,000, and then I'll pay Wells Fargo back. Right. The seller has all their money at once. Yeah. But in this situation, $200,000, all right, I'm going to pay you $200,000 over time. My credit doesn't matter, none of that. I'm paying you, boom, boom, boom. If I stop paying, you can just take the property back, okay? Rather than the bank foreclosing and taking the property back. That's seller finance. So you're paying the seller versus paying the bank.
Yeah.
So no credit check, none of that.
So in this case, the seller, because understand that every seller has a different motivation.
Absolutely.
So, because a lot of people are going to think that a seller is just looking to sell their house, and they don't want to. They want the lump sum of cash to pay it off. But in this case, you're saying that you're going to be making payments to the seller instead of paying them the whole lump sum. Mm-hmm. So what kind of person would be
the avatar?
Yeah, like who is that type of person?
Absolutely. So you just said different motivation, and I love that you said that. So give you an example. So let's say someone is older, right? They're not hurting for money. They don't need money. They have a house that they're looking to get rid of, right? We was talking about older folks. What is one of the main things that someone older is looking for after they stop their working career, if they don't have a business? what are people looking for?
They don't want to have overhead.
They don't want to have overhead, and they also want some type of supplemental income, right? When they retire, right?
Yeah.
Either Social Security, right, or some type of retirement plan, right?
Right.
So you're talking about avatar. One nice one is, right, someone that is looking to get residual income without having to deal with the headaches of being a landlord.
Right.
And that's one of my favorite pitches. I asked the seller, Mr. Seller, let me ask you this. What if there's a way that you could get income every single month without having to deal with the headaches of being a landlord? Is that something we should talk about? Or probably not. Right? I did a little negative phrasing. I sparked your curiosity. I didn't do a long pitch. And I didn't tell you what I could do.
Yeah.
I didn't show you my cards. I said, what if?
All right.
Right? And so, anyway, that's some sauce right there. It's a little bit of sauce, but that's seller financing.
See,
Paying the seller directly instead of paying the bank. And I'm telling you, when you start understanding how to identify the problems and being able, understanding what is a pain point and a pleasure point for them, and putting an idea out there, not like it was your idea. So what if toss it in the air because you know what's going on and you let them grab it. Now you just bought another house.
Yeah.
And I promise when I tell you it's so easy when you know how to, like, I'm not even pitching it really. A lot of people try to pitch everything.
You're not selling them.
No.
You're not a salesman. You're just offering them an idea.
Because people don't like to be sold to.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing where I see people get excited about learning this creative finance stuff, but very few people succeed.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to sell people, and
Yeah.
people get scared. Let me talk to my lawyer. Like it's like, and I just be listening what people say, and I'm like, man, they're doing it all wrong. The seller's definitely about to say no.
You're right.
Let me think about it and not answer the phone.
Yeah. I love this because, like, I think it's for a lot of people, when you get into this whole real estate, you know, you start learning about it, you get excited. And it's like, you get so excited. And like now you start thinking it from the lens of like everybody's looking at it from your own perspective too. And it's like, you got to understand, you and another motivated seller, you are on completely different ends of it. Like, they don't care that, like, what your motivation is. They could care less. But a lot of people always approach it in a way, it's like even using the jargon, all these kinds of things when you're talking to people that are like
selfish.
Regular people. They don't
It's
know
selfish.
what you're saying.
I'll give you an example. Talking about seller finance. This is my personal opinion. I think the worst way to ever get a seller to agree seller finance, and if you do this, I think it's one of the people that agree to this, I think are the people that was already interested in doing seller finance.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you tell them seller finance.
Yeah. They was like, okay, I was considering selling finance. You know, I heard about that.
They already know.
But for somebody that's completely green to it, I think the worst, and this is my personal opinion, right? I only done, a couple deals. Only bought a couple houses like this. I think the worst way to do it is, hey, would you seller finance it? Hey, Hey, I understand the cash isn't a fit for you. Would you what about if we seller finance the property? Would you seller finance the property to me?
Yeah.
You immediately confused them for one, and they.
So you probably confused them, right? You could break it down. Can I make payments to you over time? Right. Okay, that would be more clarity. But I think even that has a lower conversion rate, and I'm gonna tell you why. If I say, "Hey, will you seller finance it to me?" Who does it sound like is benefiting?
You.
Right.
Me. The mind appears like you don't have all the cash to pay me now, so you want me to do you a favor. You want me to seller finance the property to you.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
How can you rephrase it to it seems like it's benefiting them more than it's benefiting you?
And that's when you could talk about, it goes back to like you letting them feel like they came to the decision of saying, oh, what about this? Because you threw it up in the air.
And they came to the decision because they saw how it could benefit themselves.
Exactly. And that's not me literally saying, right? Because I don't want people to think pitching. Hey, Mr. Seller, if I seller finance you a property, you're going to be able to, break up the tax, right, amongst years, right? You don't have to worry about taxes. I mean, tenants, and that's not what I'm saying. That's pitching. That's selling, right? What if, and I'm going to throw out a couple of things, and that you're going to know that it's beneficial to you.
Right.
I'm going to shut up.
Man, y'all getting the sauce right now. I don't know if y'all listen.
That's seller finance. We didn't even talk about subject to rap, lease.
So there's so many different things.
Yeah.
And I kind of wanted to talk about kind of just because the thing about real estate is like there's so many different things that you can use to actually get a deal done. What are you could choose how much sauce you want to give here. But like, what are some of the things that kind of
give us here, man? No stingy energy. I don't know if you ever heard of business over breakfast, but that's our mantra. Man. No stingy energy. But what you got?
Sure. Yeah. So what are some of the strategies that you use now to creatively finance deals that you are actively doing? Because I mean, we've heard about Burr, we've heard about all these different things. Like, what are you doing today that's like your most? Because I think real estate is like it's cyclical, just in the sense of like the market gives you different things at different times. So like, what are you doing now in this hot market to find leads and also to actually put deals together creatively?
You said 15 a month coming in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So man, as far as locking up the deals, as far as our marketing channel, man, we dropped down to one marketing channel.
Really?
Yeah. The summer we were doing cold calling, RVMs, Facebook ads. Yeah, that's what we was doing. Cold calling, RVM, and Facebook ads.
Can you
a little
describe
bit.
RVM just for a second?
Huh?
Can you describe RVM?
So ringless voicemail.
Okay.
It's a pre-recorded message that goes out to thousands of people at one time. You guys probably hear it around the campaigns. Hey, if you vote for me, or hey, this is the National Firemen's Association.
I'm doing
or Marriott Hotels, right? Like. You got a lot of, like junk RVMs that come through, and you answer, and it's like it's not even a real person. But it's effective because instead of calling all these people individually, you could just blanket 20,000 people. You're right in a few days, and then the people that are interested call back to you. So it's kind of like you sifted out the dirt really, really fast.
Right. Yeah.
So before that, we were doing like PPC. PPC has always been effective. We've always ranked like number one there. But our infrastructure, how we were set up, we weren't set up because we was virtual, and we weren't set up to where we could get on the lead immediately. And PPC is a lead source that you need to attack immediately because these.
So that's Google leads, pay-per-click.
Google pay-per-click.
Yeah.
So that's when you go to a Google search, like sell my house, or you might go to coffee barista, barista, and like the paid, the
top ones.
Paid. And so when you click on that and you try to look for that service and that person doesn't answer, what are you gonna do? Go to the next one.
Right.
Yeah. So that's why it's one of the best lead sources, but you have to be on top of them. Mm-hmm. So right now, bro, the last probably 4 months, we've been doing cold calling exclusively.
Cold calling only.
We only have one lead source right now.
That's what Byron was saying.
We just do cold calling. At any given time, it's not a big deal. If anything, given time, we could always ramp back up RVMs, text blasting, all those direct mail. But right now, we just do cold calling.
So for the people listening, so cold calling is essentially you get a list from online based off of some sort of target. Like it could be
motivation. So absentee owners, people that do not live in the property.
Right. Yeah.
Pre-foreclosures, tax delinquent. Right, high equity, right? People that have a high equity, federal tax liens, state tax liens, probates, right? Water lists, vacants, high days on market, expired listings, right? So these are just a few.
Code violations,
driving for dollars, right?
Yep.
So you pull these lists from these because. This is all public
data
information.
Data source providers.
Right. So you go to a data source provider. This is public information. You can get the list. And you have cold callers that are now screening through every single one of these people with a script that you all put together that's trying to essentially try to lock up their property.
Absolutely. So
to get under contract.
Exactly. So basically, process really quick. Pull data. Skip trace the data. Skip trace meaning finding their contact information.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Giving this information to the cold callers, right? And they're going one by one, like you said, to see if they're interested in selling. If they're not, based on the conversation and what happens, we appropriately update or disposition the lead in our CRM, right, to follow up with them in the future because life happens to everybody. Right? That person that says, I want $200,000 and it's worth $150,000.
Right.
But I won't sell a penny less than $200,000. Well,
yeah, right.
I completely appreciate that, Mr. Seller. I can understand that. But if something happens, right, or life turns, that same person could be willing to sell now for $75,000. The same house is worth $150,000, and if you just ditch them because he wanted too much, is not a lead,
And I think that's really important to mention, because I think one thing that a lot of people would not think about is the follow-up, because most people don't buy on the first interaction anyway. And so it's like, the thing, it would be such a shame to put all this money and investment into getting this lead, and then you only follow up once, and then once they become motivated, someone else comes in and takes the bait or whatever you had put all the work. You already warmed them up and
planted the
everything
seed
to the
already
idea.
that they may want to sell one day.
Yeah.
It's not the right time right now.
An analogy I made up that I like to use, it's almost like you go into the supermarket in the produce section, you put in a bunch of, let's use mangoes. I like mangoes, right? Put a bunch of mangoes in your basket, right? Well, a lot of them are going to be firm and bitter, right? This is those sellers that just want what they want. They won't budge, right? But once you take it home, right, if you continue to put them in the right place and keep them there, say a week or 2 weeks, but in this business, it's not going to be a week or two, right? It might be months, it might be a year, right? But eventually, it's going to be ripe to eat.
Yeah.
So some of them, immediately when the lead comes in, it's going to be like the ripe mango where you could peel it right now,
Right.
juicy, boom, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, right, win-win situation. But some of them, you can't get anything out of it right now, right? And you just need to wait until that opportunity ripens.
So what is I'm curious then, how many cold calls are y'all making per month? And then what is the conversion rate? I guess if it's 15 deals per month, then we know the conversion based off.
Yeah, man, that's a good question. Because I'm actually over cold callers. They're probably you're looking at about $800 to $1,200 per day.
$800 to $1,200 a day.
Wow. Dials.
Oh, dials. Okay.
Yeah, dials,
Yeah.
not actual. And I forgot you guys are engineers. Yeah.
Yeah.
So $800 a day amongst 10 cold callers, $8,000, right? With about a 10% contact rate. So if you dial 100 people, probably
10 people actually
that you probably end up talking to.
Yeah.
So 8,000 per day, what, 30 a month? So do the math.
Oh, I was on it.
800, yeah. So, and that's light, man. They got people that 15, 20 something. I got a good friend.
Yeah.
He
What is
got
it,
like
Marlon?
20 something.
240,000. You say it's like $240,000
Dials,
per month.
yeah,
That's what that is.
are going out to the marketplace on behalf of our company.
And what is that divided 15?
Yeah, so 15 divided by 240,000. That's so 0.006% as far as.
What do you?
What I was looking at is like how many sales, like how many conversions do you
Oh,
get from the
okay.
initial
So I know y'all
dials?
don't track it like y'all probably track it.
Yeah.
You track
Track it differently.
Yeah. You don't. It's not straight. Okay, we send this out. And we
No.
close this. I was just curious.
Because out of all of those, we're tracking that conversion by the actual leads.
Yeah,
so,
but how many you reach?
yeah,
You got
exactly.
Yeah.
So those are the people we reach out to, right?
Got you. Yeah.
And the people that contact. But out of those, there's going to be a certain amount of leads that are produced from that.
Right.
And then the conversion rate is basically the contract per the leads.
Yeah.
That's the division.
Okay. Cool.
Contract per lead.
I understand that everything is a funnel though, because the funnel
So,
starts off with the initial
calls.
reach out. Yeah,
Reach
it's just
out.
the calls. The calls is not the leads necessarily. That's just the initial reach out.
So you got calls.
Yeah.
And then a certain amount of people are going to pick up.
Yeah.
And then out of the people to pick up, a certain amount of people are going to be interested.
Yep.
And the people that are interested divided by, the people that are interested versus the people that we actually contract, that's the conversion rate.
That's the
Correct.
conversion
Yeah.
rate.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the conversion
So
ratio.
you don't consider people that, number one, don't pick up, and number two, aren't interested.
No, we look at that data because we need to know that data for another reason.
Right.
So check this out. The people that you reach out to versus the people to pick up, if that's too low, now we can have a few issues. First of all, the call could be, our numbers could be suppressed.
Mm-hmm.
The data source that what's it called? If not enough people are picking up, either bad number, right? That our numbers are being suppressed, and we need to recycle our numbers because they're being flagged by wireless providers. Number two is the source of the
list.
skip tracing.
Yeah.
The skip tracing, right? Probably need to work with a different
provider. Yeah.
provider. Now, if we're getting the amount of people, the ratio is good for them to pick up the phone. That's good. But out of the people that's picking up the phone, we're not getting enough people that are interested. Now you need to look at the list source. Like, are you pulling the right list?
Yeah.
Because now you're fishing in a pond that doesn't even
Any
have
fish.
those fish.
Right.
You see what I'm
The
saying?
wrong fish. Yeah.
You get where I'm coming from?
Oh, no. Because
So this business, man, once you've been in the long time, it's like a science. It's like, all right,
sure.
I could be fishing in the wrong pond. Okay, what if I'm fishing in the wrong pond? I see all the fish, but I'm not catching anything. I need to look at my line.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that's why it's so important to track
or the bait.
data.
I'm about to hit on all
Data,
that.
yeah.
Because I want to go to talk about so much with this.
You got me nerding out. Right?
No,
You know what's crazy? Byron turned me into a nerd on this because I was just a people person.
Yeah.
You show me a problem and you show me somebody's interested in working with us, I'll find a way to structure the deal.
It's a good partnership.
But man, he got me nerding out on numbers. You know what I mean?
This is the behind the scenes that is the reason why you're able to start getting those 15 conversions per month.
6 figures.
Yeah, 6-figure conversions per month. It's because of this part right here.
Yeah.
Because first of all, I want to hit on this. You started off with doing the RVMs, the PPCs, the cold calling. You had all these different options, but there's a reason that y'all narrowed down the cold call.
Yeah. Oh, you got me excited, man. Exactly, right? Because so a lot of people say, I don't want to worry about that right now. I just want to make some money. And I feel you because I was the same person.
Yeah.
But once you at a scale, you got to know what's working and what's not. And so you don't know what's working and what's not if you don't have numbers.
Yeah.
Right? And so some people will just go pull all these different lists. Let's say you pull 5 different lists. Well, how do you know what list gave you the most deals?
Come on with it.
So if you're still spending money on these other 3 lists, right, you're wasting money.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you pull 5 lists and all of your deals, right, you done 20 deals and they all came from these 3 lists, but you paid money for these other 2 lists, you're wasting money.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'll give you an example, and we kind of felt bad, you know what I mean, because we just didn't get started. But I remember it was early last summer when we started doing Facebook for the first time. We started doing Facebook ads because you remember we've been doing PPC for a long time. Matter of fact, before I even met Byron, that was one of the original things I was taught, the PPC. So, but Facebook ads was new to us. Man, but at this time we was doing Facebook, text messages, and RVMs, cold calling, right? And so Facebook was something new that we added on.
Mm-hmm.
But we weren't really like experts in it. We weren't really tracking it. Bro, I think we came to one of our bi-weekly marketing budget meetings, and we had noticed we burned $6,000 on Facebook ads and didn't get a single deal from it.
Man.
Or I think we probably got like 2-3 leads.
Wow.
Yeah, and we noticed we spent $6,000, bro, and we didn't even know. 6,000 escaped us and we didn't even know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what would happen to a business.
Yeah, and just imagine if that happens long term. You know,
Exactly.
so
That stuff, that was my whole
Gotta
thing.
track
with,
it.
if you are tracking this stuff, this is what separates the entry level entrepreneurs versus the people who are bringing in
Business
6 figures,
Yeah.
like the actual business owners.
A
Because
hustlepreneur versus entrepreneur.
exactly, if you are tracking these things, you're going, because numbers do not lie.
numbers don't lie.
And if you are, like you said, if you're pulling from 5 different lead sources and 2 of them are working, the other 3 are not, why would you continue to pull from those 3?
Yeah.
But you wouldn't know to eliminate those 3 if you didn't ever track the analytics to see what is your conversion rate. Each one of those has that same funnel that you're talking about. The initial leads the initial reach outs down to the actual people that picked up, down to the people that actually are interested. Each one of those has that same funnel, and you have to be tracking. As far as the number of people that are seeing it, all the way down to the actual conversions. Which ones am I getting the best return on my investment? If I'm not getting that return, it's time to cut off these streams, because if I double down in the right part, like the cold calling for you, you're going to see your income skyrocket, because this works already. This is where the numbers don't lie. They're saying it works here. Let me just double down on that.
And for anybody that fell asleep because they was like, oh my God, you got 2 engineers, you got one guy that's, into this, like, bro, this is what are they talking about, bro? Because I know what it feels like if I was going to start getting in this business. I heard this. I'm like, bro, like, how mine works, so like, bro, like, that's
Really? That's
too
so
much.
crazy. I'll hear this like, I'm
Yo.
ready to go. Really?
yeah.
That's
So
engineering mind, dog.
So yeah, the analytical by nature. So I just want to ease people's minds that are not like you guys. Is that, guys, you can set this thing at one time. You set it up through any software or CRM you use, right? And now any actions that you commit, anything that you do, whether you're driving for dollars, cold calling, it's automatically gonna spit out the numbers.
Right.
And all you gotta do is just look at the numbers and make decisions based on the numbers.
I
don't want you to think that this is an ongoing.
and strenuous thing. So let's kind of transition along. So let's say, okay, you call your leads, motivated sellers, whatever the case may be. They pick up the phone. You have a script that your cold callers are using. when do you actually get involved as far as like, okay, let me go close this deal or whatever the case may be? Like when what at that point, like how do you determine what strategy to use based off of that particular seller? Obviously, it's going to be based off their situation, and it's going to be
talking
different.
about when this, me specifically?
It might not be you, but like let's say after you do get a contact, right? Someone picks up the phone and they're interested in getting their selling their property, whatever. I don't know what your cold callers say, but
right.
I assume they're asking.
At what point do you kind of decide like what way to go with this?
Yeah, like what is it?
Because you have different strategies.
Yeah, that's the thing. You have so many tools in your tool belt.
Great question.
Which tool do I pull out of the tool belt?
Gotcha. So, man, little confession here. So, myself, I mean, I'm rarely talking to sellers. Like, matter of fact,
that's good.
Yeah, right.
Matter of fact, I'm not talking to sellers unless it's my deal.
Right.
Meaning that it's something that I personally am buying.
For yourself.
That's the only time I'm talking to a seller. So as far as our company and the acquisition managers, it's a wholesale company. So I don't want you guys to get that confused.
Yeah.
So the company, they're looking wholesale first. Now, our company does offer, let's say taking over payments, but we're gonna usually assign that seller finance agreement, right? Yeah. So usually it's really just assignments, right? This is it's an active cash business, right? Assignments. Now, so everything is based on, does it make sense, right, as a wholesale deal, or is this something that we can assign to another investor? All right. Now, as far as what you said, it just depends if if an acquisition manager knows, like, man, neither one of these are fit. Right, Brian, I think you want to take a look at this. That's when I'll look at it and I'll decide, right, okay, can I make this person payments and will it cash flow?
Right, to keep it as a rental property.
Yeah, to keep it as a rental, make it an Airbnb or fix and flip, things like that. All right, so, okay, if it's fix and flip, all right, how can I creatively acquire it short term or control it short term, right, rather than go and get hard money? Right, so check this out. I could go and get a hard money loan, great, but I'm interest only loan, high points, right? All of that is taken from the profit. Or what if I could seller finance this property from the seller for 6 months, 8 months, right? Just to get them what they wanted, right? So they allow me to just take over ownership, put money into the property, right? Yeah. Instead of having to buy the whole property at first, and then when I sell it, I profit and get them cashed out.
So, I mean, I think that's super dope. But just as far as like, the fact that obviously you got the wholesale business, but the good thing about having the wholesale business is that you can kind of leverage it for your own personal.
Yeah, pick out your own yard.
Yeah, you pick out the ones that are super good. So real quickly, could you kind of just, what is like, I was curious, what is the best deal that you've, like, as far as like, like this was just a home run, smoking hot deal that you've ever done? Like, if you had to pick one.
Just pick one?
Yeah.
Probably the deal that if you go and look at that $100,000 a week on YouTube, the bulk of that was a $71,000 deal, where basically it was a hotel. So check it out. Talk to the seller. The seller said that, hey, and this is some real negotiation. I went to the property. The seller says, they're looking to sell. They said, hey, I got another realtor coming to look at it. The realtor said that they could pay $77,000, but they just need an inspection, and they're going to be calling me back to see when they could come and look at it. I looked the seller in their eyes. I think it was just said that the realtor was going to pay $77 or $78. They just need to come look at it, do an inspection. I looked the seller in their face. It was in the front yard. I looked the seller in their face and I said, look, Mr. Seller, let me ask you this. What do you think is going to happen after they do an inspection? What do you think is going to happen with their offer after they do an inspection?
Yeah.
And, she looked at me and she said, I don't know. I said, look, I can give you 70. I can't do that, right? So a lot of people try to outbid people because then they get in that. I looked the seller in the face and I said, look, I can't do 77. I can do 75,000, but I don't need a contingency. I don't need an inspection period, and we can close in 7 days. And she accepted it.
Wow.
So to make sure she didn't ghost me or anything like that, I set a time that day for her to meet me at the title company, right? So she could see people. She could see that she's bought in, right?
Right.
Because it's easier for me to call her and she stop answering her phone, right? I said, hey, yeah, so when I see my escrow ladies, she seen me. I walked in with the seller and I said, yeah, this is Mary. Hey, they said, yeah, I'm gonna be buying her house. It's gonna be a cash deal. We're gonna be closing in about 7 days. So we're just gonna fill the agreement out here and just give it to you, right? And so much stuff went on there, right? She had skin in the game and she didn't even know it. So even though it's beyond the point, it's supposed to be talking about the deal itself. I'm giving extra gems.
Yeah.
But anyway, we ended up selling the house for like $180 or something like that. Put it on the market with a realtor, paid the full 6%. And it was a hotel. Literally got my contractor in there. He painted like 2-3 rooms. He fixed some wood rot because we knew the type of buyer we needed for the bank to approve it. Some things need to be fixed.
It was an owner-occupant buyer or investor buyer?
Owner-occupied buyer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, owner-occupied buyer.
Nice.
And so, yeah, and we put it back on the market. So it was like 180 something. After the commissions, after the concessions, right? Made $71,000 net.
Wow. That's what you're talking about with wholesaling onto the MLS.
Hoteling, yeah.
Yeah.
Basically a hotel deal.
Yeah.
So wholesaling onto the MLS is wholesaling.
No, wholesaling is essentially the fix and flip.
Okay, yeah, that's
Wholesaling is essentially buying a property at a deep discount and selling it to a retail buyer with little or no improvements.
So it's a retail buyer, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, wholesale to retail.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
So basically, you're buying it or controlling it at like wholesale prices, but you're getting a retail buyer to buy it versus an investor. So you gotta check about this. If I sell something to an investor, they're factoring in their profit.
Right.
A retail buyer doesn't care about a profit. They're gonna pay retail value.
They just want a cute porch.
And so, exactly. So a lot of people be like, man, wholesaling, you're the middleman. Well, what's a fix and flipper? So if I wholesale a deal to an investor that is a fix and flipper,
they want their profit.
How many middlemen are actually in the transaction?
Yeah.
It's 2.
Yeah.
So it goes from the seller to the wholesaler to contract it, to sell it to a fix and flipper for an assignment fee, for the fix and flipper to get a retail ready and sell it to a retail.
So you cut out the second middleman.
Second middleman. A lot of people, and that's what I teach my students in creative finance, because sometimes what you can do, depending on the condition of the property, control the property and get it to the retail market.
Because the retail market is where the money is.
They're going to pay the most.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't understand how to do that.
So
because when they structure the deal, they're on a time clock, and that seller is looking for their cash in like 15 to 30 days, right? And for a loan to close, sometimes you need 45, 90 days, right? 30 days for sure. 45 days is probably like the norm.
Yeah.
Right? And that's whole nother what I'm talking about here. But yeah, so that's basically what we did. We got it at a wholesale price. We got it into a retail buyer's hand. We could have easily assigned it, right?
Yeah.
You'd made a lot less.
Yeah, exactly.
If it was a smart investor.
Yeah.
So that's what you're talking about when you said wholesale to MLS earlier, as far as like that's not what you're talking about?
Nah,
so that's completely different still.
But it's still wholesaling. I call that zero down wholesaling.
Ah, okay.
Right? So wholesaling got levels to it. Wholesaling in this sense, we took the property down.
Yeah.
So we actually purchased it. We owned it, right?
Oh, okay.
We put like $3,000 into it. I think $4,000 into it.
Painting the rooms.
Yeah, painted like 1 or 2 rooms.
Right.
Fix some nozzles or whatever, like from fixtures on the bathroom. Not upgrading the stuff that was broke.
Right.
We're not upgrading. We're fixing the things that the bank would need to fund the deal.
Right.
So we took it down at a wholesale price, $75K, put like some lipstick for like $3K on it, and sold it to a retail buyer that's like, yo, I'm getting this at a deal. Because on a retail market, right, normally people are buying it at full retail and they're paying 100% of the value. They're putting 3.5% down, and the bank is financing 97% of it.
Right.
So they're always paying retail. If you put something on the retail market and put it out there for 90% of the retail value, people jump all over it.
Facts.
Versus selling it for 70% of the retail, or 75%. You see what I'm saying?
Because you're selling it to an investor.
Yeah. But what I was talking about earlier is zero down wholesaling with no money, no credit, being able to do that. So you contract the property, and then you get that on the MLS. But it's a little trickier how you do that or whatever, because you see what I'm saying? Because now you need to have more time. Or in a situation like that, how I could have pulled that off is without putting up $75K, if I didn't have that conversation with the realtor, I could just say, hey, Mr. Seller, how about I give you $1,500 right now, right? Non-refundable, and I give you the remaining balance in 6 months. And I really would rather need to be around $60,000, but I can get you the 75 you're asking if you give me more time. So I'm going to give you this money right now. This is going to allow me to get my crew in here to fix the property up, so we don't have to buy the whole property. Right. And now when we sell the property, of course you're going to have to be paid out because there's a lien for your $75K. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, man.
Does that make sense?
No, for sure.
So many different ways to go.
Yeah, bro.
That's the best way.
I could go 5 hours talking about all the different ways you can structure it.
I mean, I think you've already given so much game just in this episode, man, that I don't know. This is just packed full of gems. I don't want to. I mean, because we will be here, 15 hours, and I know you have like additional. If people want more stuff, we're gonna talk about here in a second. Yeah. So what I want to do kind of is transition to our last segment of the show, real quick, which will be our Fast Five. So this is where we'll just ask you 5 questions, and you'll answer them in 10 seconds or less.
Ooh, okay.
And we'll kind of wrap up the show with that. But man, this has been dope. So
how can I be successful? How can I follow the path that someone else has laid for me to be successful?
Ask the Monopolizers.
I'll take the first one and then we'll alternate. So first question, what does success mean to you?
Man, doing what you want to do. Doing what makes you happy.
Yes, sir. All right. Question number 2. What is your favorite money or business book?
Money or business book? I gotta pick one.
Do it. Yep. Whatever you want. You got it.
Millionaire Fastlane.
Who's that by?
MJ DeMarco.
Oh, I've heard of that.
It beat up Rich Dad Poor Dad, but I needed Rich Dad Poor Dad to appreciate that book. But Millionaire Fastlane. MJ DeMarco.
Okay. Cool. So third question: would you rather have $1,000 a week for life or $1 million today, and why?
$1,000 a week for life. 52,000
a year,
a year, $1 million. Why? Because I understand how to leverage it to create more than $1,000 a week.
Yes, sir. It is simple. Question number 4: if you could go back and change anything about your journey, what would it be?
I was gonna say nothing, but I would say taking action quicker. Okay. Moving quicker.
Yeah.
Earlier on.
Yeah.
Sure.
Messing up quicker.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Facts. Taking action. I love it. Cool. So last question: where can people find out more about you? And also, do you have like additional resources that people can purchase for education or anything like that as well?
Absolutely. So I'm probably the most active on Instagram. House Buying Brian. House Buying Brian on Instagram. On YouTube, you can find me Brian Brian Iregbu Iregbu. So that's my Instagram and that's my YouTube. As far as additional resources, I do have the Creative REI Academy. Started it once I quit my job to teach people how I did what I did, right? Buying houses creatively. So that's creativereiacademy.com. And also we just created something called the Wealth Community, which is a monthly subscription. At the moment, it's like $1 a day. It's $29 a month, but we'll quickly be raising that in the next few weeks. But you're grandfathered in right now, and it's basically all different, myself and all different experts from different industries pouring in and giving you blueprints, in real time in Zoom. So
dope, man. We super appreciate you for coming on the show, man, and getting all this game and free game. It was so many gems that I think, because what I really love about what you're doing is that, you obviously you working with Byron, and shout out to Brian. Like y'all, I think y'all's partnership is just super dope, just based off of like what y'all each bring to each other. Lord have mercy.
I knew we were about to have that.
Another one bites the dust.
I say wrap it up.
Yeah. So. I guess we
last man standing.
Yeah. That's crazy. We got the audio though, so we good. But yeah, man, we appreciate you coming on the show, and we look forward to continue to connect with you and see what you got going on and bringing you back on hopefully sometime.
Man, most importantly, shout out to you guys. Thank y'all. Y'all made it happen. Yeah. I mean, you guys are using y'all's platform as a you know, as a channel and a vehicle to empower and impact others. So
Yes, sir.
this is a lot of hard work what you guys are doing. And I know we spoke about it before the podcast, but continue to do it, man. These recordings and things like this last forever, long after any of us are still here. And like I said, like the Jim Rohn, man, this stuff impacts me. So
I love it.
Thank y'all for what y'all doing, man. Appreciate y'all letting me come.
Yes, for sure. Yes, sir. Yeah, that is it for this episode of the Money Monopolizers podcast. New episodes will be released every Thursday and will be available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Just search Money Monopolizers wherever you listen to podcasts. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, we'd appreciate if you rated us 5 stars and left us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. You also follow us on Instagram. We post more informative content. We are IG at Money Monopolizers or on Twitter at the Monopolizers. We post informative content on there that you could follow and continue to gain value from. But other than that, we'll see you on the next one.
You've been listening to the Money Monopolizers podcast, helping you take control of your financial destiny. To learn more about how you can be in control of your money, visit moneymonopolizers.com. We'll catch you next time when Alex and Marlon share more personal finance and wealth creation tips with you. Now it's time to take action.